lift up so everybody will be able to hear. First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody to Linden Heights Candidates Night. I have a few odds and ends for the Linden Heights Council that I just need to go over real quick before we get started. We actually switched our meeting to this Thursday instead of next Thursday because we thought it would be trick or treat. It is not. So, yeah, trick or treat is on Saturday from 6 to 8 on the 31st. So, but this is going to work out fine regardless. Our next meeting is November 19th, which is a week earlier because of Thanksgiving. So, I'll send you a reminder in the mail. The one thing I want you to keep in mind is it is our month to donate canned goods for the St. Anthony's Food Pantry. So just keep that in mind, but I'll send you a note beforehand so we can get something nice together for them. The other thing is I would like to thank everybody who brought things for our donation table. Linden Heights does one fundraiser a year, and this is the time we do it. They make crafts. We have some crafty people in Linden Heights, and we have a little raffle, and that's how we make our funds for the year to be able to do things in the community. So remember to buy a ticket or two to help support Linden Heights, and we thank you for that. A special thank you to my mom, who was in the red, and my dad was the man who signed you in. They made the cookies and the refreshments. Yeah. And I like to say, behind every good president is good parents. So they're the ones who always make the refreshments and everything. So thank you so much for everything that you do. And thanks to Mark and Andrew who run the raffle and get everything set for tonight. So the form for tonight is, this is the way the candidates are going to speak. They all have 4 minutes. Bob is your timer in the back, so he will hold you up when you have 1 minute to speak. We're holding all questions until the end. So we're going to give everybody a chance to speak, and then we'll have question and answering at the end. So sit back and listen and think of some questions. If you need them to use this, just speak up and then they can use it. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Rhine McLin. I'm currently the mayor of Dayton, and I would like to thank you very much for this forum this evening and for all of you to be here to hear us candidates. I'm running for mayor, and the reason why I'm running for mayor is because I've had to make some tough decisions during the tough times, but we stepped up to the leadership. And what we're doing is planning the city for the future. And what we've done with that is infrastructure. Many of you might get able to see the celebration of Main Street. That's a project that we've done. That's the new Main Street, and we've been doing other infrastructure projects in the city, laying the groundwork for the future. We're doing 9 bridges in 7 years, laying the groundwork for the future. And also, one of the things that's very important is that we're taking the housing. We were able to get federal money. And some of you have neighborhoods where you've had some blighted housing that you would say, boy, I just wish the city would do something about this. I've been complaining. We have more housing than we have people. So what we're doing now is right-sizing our housing. And so with some NSP money, the federal money that we're getting, we're going to be demolishing houses, rehabbing houses, and building new houses. And one of the programs that we're really proud of is that we're working in partnership with the East End community is deconstruction. And deconstruction means they're taking these houses, it's going to be a slower process for them to come down, but they're taking and saving good parts out of the house, and they're going to be able to sell that later. And in the process of doing that, they're going to be putting people to work and training them in that area. So I'm really proud of that. Well, I'm also very proud of us having our vacant to vibrancy conversation. And on the vacant to vibrancy conversation, we're able to take these lots, and we have one that's over there on Edward C. Moses Boulevard by the Washington Street Bridge. At that lot is where we are in a partnership with the Ohio State University Extension and the Department of Agriculture that we're doing a garden there. And we're growing certain things there that can't be grown anywhere else that the Somalis and the Sudanese are able to do, and it's a zucchini. So it's an experiment that we're doing. It's a pilot program. We like to do more of them. There's even talk of us doing prairies on some of our lots. So we're open to creative things, and Commissioner Whaley will talk more about the land banking initiative. On the crime, we're down if something is happening in your neighborhood. That is something that we are doing. As far as businesses are concerned, we are very concerned about the economic development of our community. And in the process of doing that, I have a resource center that we're doing that works on expansion and retention of jobs. We're also working with a group called the Dayton Development Coalition. I have 1 minute, or is my time up?
1 minute.
Okay. The Dayton Development Coalition, the Downtown Partnership, and what we're doing with that is that we know that the next businesses are going to come, the next Fortune 500 companies are going to come from small businesses. And we are very, very aggressively working on maintaining small businesses and growing businesses and attracting businesses. And our greatest thing that I want to talk about that's happened in Dayton, I'm really excited about, is that the governor has announced that Dayton is the aerospace hub of innovation. We're able to take that old brownfield of Harrison Radiator, turning it into technology town, working with Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which has 23,000 plus jobs, and we're going to be bringing more here. And we're a perfect niche for that with our partners, University of Dayton, Sinclair, Wright State, Central State, and I think that you'll see our next Fortune 500 companies coming out of Dayton. Everything started small, and it will grow to be big. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Leitzell. I'm the candidate for mayor. I live in Walnut Hills, just up the street, across the way. I was born in McKeesport. My dad worked in the steel mills after he got out of the Air Force. And that was in Pittsburgh area. My mother was British. By the time I was 9, they split up. I ended up in England. I have a bit of a British accent. People are usually too polite to ask, so I was told I should explain that story. I spent 12 and a half years growing up with it. Came back to America with a suitcase, a backpack, $600 and the American dream in my head, and I made a go of it here. I arrived in Pittsburgh. I worked in the Pittsburgh area for several years. I finally ended up in Dayton in 1994, and I was renting a house from a friend who moved back to England up there in Walnut Hills. I ended up buying it from him. So I've been in Walnut Hills for 15 years. In that time, I got involved with the Neighborhood Association. I got involved with the Priority Board. I've been on that Priority Board for 10 years. The Southeast Priority Board, I'm now the chair of it. I'm also the president of the Walnut Hills Association. In those years, I've learned that there is a serious disconnect between City Hall and the citizens, City Hall and the business community, and City Hall and their very own employees. And I felt that it was time to reconnect those dots and start making things happen in a positive way in this town. I stand for safer, thriving neighborhoods. We shouldn't be letting police officers go. We got to keep them on the streets. I stand for making Dayton a place where business booms. I think it's great that Ms. McLin is saying what I've been saying for years, that we need to attract 1,000 entrepreneurs, 1,000 visionaries, or 1,000 opportunists here to start their own businesses so that we can start small and grow big again. I've been saying this for years, not the last 3 weeks. I also think we need a customer-centric city hall, a city hall that works for you, the citizens. Every time I call with a problem, I get no response. And you can't run a business with poor customer service, and we need to run the city like a business. Now, they talk about a budget deficit of $20 million next year. $20 million. They cut 13 last year, and then they cut another 4 at least. So we got to cut another 20. Today, our financial reports came out. I had to go to the Board of Elections and file how much money I've made, how much I've spent, as did all these other candidates. And I want you to think of this at a time of crisis. Ms. McLin spent 2 to 3 times the annual income of your average Dayton Public Service Union worker in order to get reelected for a part-time job that pays little over half of what she spent. I want to know how you can explain that at a time when people downtown are getting laid off, expecting to get laid off, and expecting to take more furlough days. Think about that when you vote November 3rd. These are in the back. My website is gogarygo.net. If we want innovative, creative ideas at City Hall, we need business-minded visionaries who solve problems. And I've been an experienced, seasoned problem solver for 10 years.
Dayton originally. I'm from Indiana, and went to the University of Dayton and fell in love with the city of Dayton. I live in Five Oaks neighborhood with my husband Sam, and we've been married about 2 years. I want to talk briefly about the things that I've been working on as your city commissioner. First, the mayor mentioned land banking and land reuse initiatives. As the mayor mentioned, we do have an excess number of houses as well as a lot of land in the city of Dayton. 52 square miles is the city of Dayton. So we have been looking into ways to manage this land. I'm really excited with the work that with the county treasurer, Carolyn Rice, and the county auditor, Carl Keefe, as well as other cities in the state. We do have a House and Senate bill that's entered the legislature. We're hoping that that bill will pass. It's a countywide land bank. It helps us get more funding to deal with these properties. Currently, the city of Dayton is mowing around 6,000 lots that are not ours. That's incredibly expensive, and we're trying to find new ways to really use the land for the neighborhoods. Secondly, I am on the Bike Walk Dayton Committee. We started a committee to figure out how to make our neighborhoods and our city more walking friendly and biking friendly. I look at bike issues as a social justice issue. 1 in 4 households in the city of Dayton do not have a car. So we have to figure out other ways for our citizens to get around the community and in their neighborhood. And so we're trying to make the roads safer so not only cars can drive on them, but also people can feel safe walking on them, and they can feel safe bicycling on the streets safely. And then finally, I serve as the city's representative on the Human Service Levy Council and the Family and Children's First Council. Recognizing these tough times in our city, we have a lot of people that need a lot of help, as well as a lot of senior citizens that use places like Meals on Wheels and Senior Resource Center. So I serve on those committees to make sure that we get those services for Dayton citizens and protecting them for our citizens in the city, and I'm proud of the work I've been able to do with that with your help. It's been a tough 4 years for the city of Dayton. I don't think I need to tell any of you that. The 2008 Great Recession hit this nation. It hit Dayton hard. It hit the state of Ohio hard and the region hard. And I'm really proud of the partnerships with the city and our community that we've been able to protect the basic services that you have come to know and deserve, like police, like your trash pickup, like protection and fire services. These are very important. We recognize that. We've done the best we can to work on those to make sure we have those services. I'm asking for your vote again this November 3rd. I appreciate your time here, and thanks.
Good evening. My name is Joey Williams. I'm running for re-election for Dayton City Commission, and I'd like to, first of all, thank you all for showing up and giving up some of your evening to come out and see us and show your commitment to your community. I want to tell you just a little bit about myself. Since we have a full 4 minutes tonight, I can talk a little bit more. Although I see a lot of friends in the audience, there may be some here who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting. I'm a native Daytonian, graduated from Dayton Public Schools, very proud of that. Went on to Central State University and went to grad school at Ohio State University. Been involved in the community almost all my life. By day, I am a banker, and by night, and sometimes during the day, I spend a lot of time with the commission too. Love being on the commission. It's been a real pleasure to serve the community for these past 8 years. It was a pleasure to serve the community as a school board member prior to that. I just really feel that Dayton is a great community as a family person like myself, for young people, for seniors, and I really want to be a part of continuing to move Dayton forward. As the economist, as my fellow Commissioner Nan Whaley said, we are going through a great recession. Even though some economists say the recession ended in June, we all know that Dayton has been in a recession even before they made it official, and we'll probably be in it sometime afterwards. So I think it's real important that we have folks in the commission that takes the financial end of the job very serious. And I'm really proud of what we've done over the 8 years, considering the situation. We are one of only 2 cities in the state that have actually received an upgrade from S&P. What that upgrade means to you as an everyday citizen is that that's an additional $200,000 that we save on our interest costs for the bonds that we have out right now. That's going to be out for at least 10 years. That's about $2 million that we can spend on much needed safety and services that everybody holds near and dear to their hearts. The other thing that I spend an awful lot of time on is trying to do things for our young people. I think that obviously our young people are our future, and I spend an awful lot of time trying to find ways that we can improve on our recreational facilities, our recreational programs, that we can help parents like myself know which programs are available. We have a clearinghouse that you can go to if you go online to the City of Dayton website. You can get to a clearinghouse, can share with you all types of great programs for young people. So I guess the bottom line is I'm really proud to be a Daytonian. I'm really proud to have the pleasure to serve you for the past 8 years. At the end of the day, there's still more work to be done, and I ask for your support on November 3rd so I can continue that work. Thank you.
I'm David Esrati. I don't need a microphone, but I hate standing up behind a table because I feel more connected to you than I do to some of the people up here. There's a very good reason for that. Because I'm not a politician, I'm not for sale, and I am here to make sure that you stay informed. Now, staying informed. It's been a key part of everything I've tried to do in this city in the last 20 years. The whole thing that started me going down to City Hall was a lack of information. I bought a house for $14,500. I thought the city would be happy that I was fixing that 2-bedroom, 1-bath house up that nobody had wanted and had been on the market for 2 years. I thought. Turns out, as I'm fixing it up, putting my new garage doors on, I broke a law. There was no restrictive covenant in the deed telling me I lived in a historic district. There weren't any signs up saying I lived in a historic district. I broke the law. Trying to fix up a house. Now we hear that we've got an excess number of houses, and we need to tear them down. Why do we have an excess number of houses? Because people have been leaving the city of Dayton. They've been leaving because they don't feel confident in investing in this community. And the reason they don't feel confident probably stems back quite a bit to a lack of information. The lack of information about where your money's been going, why it's been going there. I really have to question the mayor and Commissioner Whaley because their campaign finance reports are so out of line with the rest of them, the size of the donations. Why would a K Street, Washington PAC give $5,000 to Commissioner Whaley? $5,000 from Washington. That really worries me, even more than the $5,000 she got from a demolition contractor in Westerville. If we look at those campaign finance reports and you want the information, it's on my website. I posted them all a couple hours ago. Esrati.com. You go there, you can download everybody's campaign finance report. Now, I think Gary has one $1,000 donation, maybe two. I have a $500 donation as my top donation. Joey doesn't have a donation over $500. Between these two, the list is long. Lobbyists, former state reps, pouring money into the mayor's coffers. Is Gary that scary? I got to ask you, because $100,000 plus to run against a neighborhood activist, that scares me. Because that's not democracy anymore. That's a failure of our system. Well, Nan Whaley's making YouTube videos talking about all the things she's done. I'm busy videotaping and trying to make sure that you have access to these meetings and other people can see them. Because the flow of information has to be there. They used to talk a lot about their financial meetings once a month. Those financial meetings that they've been holding, and the charter states they're supposed to meet and do their business in public at a specified time and place. Well, they do that at an emergency notification meeting, and there are no minutes. That's a violation of the Sunshine Law. That's exactly what happened when I went and protested in City Hall when Mike Turner was mayor. We haven't learned. We're still having secret meetings. And I'm wondering if those secret meetings are so we can slide deals to people who give large amounts of money to our politicians. It's time to make a change. The team isn't winning. It's time to change the coach, change the players. And all I ask is that you think about change, because Gary and I will only be 2 votes. It takes 3 votes to make anything happen. How dangerous can we be? Are we really $170,000 dangerous? I don't think so. In order, Joe. Follow the rules.
Oh, well, yours was for this person, and
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I was wrong. She was right.
I apologize, I am a bit under the weather, I just left my doctor, my temperature's 101, but I'm gonna do this, okay? So if I start leaning this way, you just push it, push the other way, okay?
Somebody better catch me. I'm not doing
But I'm not
Ron, you can
contagious.
come sit next to me. I'm healthy.
I'm doing much better.
I got it. I am not Yvonne Isaacs, however, I am a colleague of Yvonne, and she had a previous commitment tonight and unfortunately was unable to be here, so she certainly sent her regards and asked that I share some information about her with you. Yvonne is the immediate past president of the Dayton School Board, and she served in that capacity for 2 years. Prior to that, she served in the role as vice president for 2.5 years, and she has also served in the role as chair of the Superintendent and Treasurer Evaluation Committee. She is right now the board's most experienced member. When she came into the district, we had been in academic emergency for years, and she is trained with national experts on academic reform, as well as began a reform strategy in the Dayton School District. Over the first 4 years of her tenure, the district's academic improvement rates grew greater than the state and national averages. The district came out of academic emergency in 2006 and has not been in that category since. She's also had a number of wins in terms of percentage movements. She's increased spending in the classroom. From the time she came on, it was 47% to now 63%. Our attendance rates have improved to over 92%, as well as our graduation rate, something that we're definitely very proud of, has improved from 50% to 83.1%, which is second highest in the Big 8 school districts in Ohio. She also worked to pass a levy last year and also to identify and subsequently hire the new superintendent, Dr. Kirk Stanek. Some of the things that Yvonne would like to continue doing is she will continue the reform initiatives and work towards making Dayton Public Schools a district where all children receive an excellent, well-rounded education. It is her goal to push for strong gifted programs. This is certainly a important area to her, making sure that we have a gifted program, as well as foreign language is another area that she pushes very heavily on and works with our administration on. And accountability for student success must become the norm across the entire district. Again, Yvonne Isaacs is running for her 3rd term and would certainly appreciate your support on November 3rd. Thank you.
And I'm Joe Lacy, and I'm running for my 2nd term. I thank you very much for electing me 4 years ago that I was first elected. I think I've learned a lot, and a lot's happened in the past 4 years. One big thing that's happened is I've got a daughter now. She's on my list piece. She's 15 months old now, and I'm looking forward to 2011 when she will be entering Dayton Public Schools. That's what I'm running for. I guess everybody, if you hadn't guessed that. For the school board. Yeah, in 2011, she will enter preschool, and I'm looking forward to her entering Dayton Public School preschool because I think we do have a quality product. And when she does, I think I will be a better board member because I will have another perspective, perspective as a parent of a Dayton Public School student, so I'm looking forward to that, and I think that's another reason to vote to re-elect me. Another reason is that I'm a certified public accountant, and I think it's very beneficial for you to have a certified public accountant on your Board of Education. I think I've helped our board in many ways in the past 4 years by having, with my financial experience. I serve as the chair of the Finance Committee. One example of how I think I've helped shepherd through the refinancing of our bonds. When we refinanced our bonds, we made $8 million. That was $8 million that could only be spent on capital projects, but it is $8 million, and I think that's really helped us out a lot. I've also helped in other areas, questions of insurance and forecasts and budgeting. I think I've had my fellow board members, my colleagues, 3 years I was on the Southeast Priority Board, and I see some of my colleagues, or my former colleagues that is, from the Southeast Priority Board. That experience has helped me well, and my colleagues from the Southeast Priority Board have helped me a lot in my service to the Dayton Board of Education, and I hope to stay in touch with you as I move on. I'm also on the board of Ruskin School. Ruskin has its own board. They are semi-autonomous in that they do have their own board. That helps me in that I get to see the day-to-day operations, working with the principal of Ruskin School, Devin Berry, and you learn a lot about what goes on and how things are on the ground. So that's my 3-minute speech. And I didn't bring anything else. And I'm wondering why some of us got red sheets and others got blue sheets. I don't know if that should indicate anything, but it's a nonpartisan race.
Don't feel bad, Joe.
Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank Linden Heights, and I'd like to thank all of you for coming out tonight and for being a part of the Candidates Night. My name is Rhine McLin. I was appointed to the board in November of '07 to fill the remaining almost 2 years of an existing term. So this will be my first opportunity in actually running for the board, and yes, I do need everybody's support. That's a little bit of difference being appointed and then running. But I got on the ground, I got my feet wet, and I'll give you a little bit of history. I worked for General Motors for 35 years and retired. And when I retired, I was faced with the question of what I wanted to do. And I realized I wasn't ready to go back to work, that was for sure. So I decided to continue my community service. So I've worked with the Downtown Priority Board for about 15 years now. I've chaired the Downtown Priority Board as well as being vice chair. And of course, I'm a graduate of NLI. I now sit on the Board of Zoning Appeals. I sit on Citywide Development Corporation's board, all through the process as a community activist and giving back to my city. I have this view that I want to see my city at 140, 160,000, as strong and as beautiful as it was when it was 200,000. And I think that's well within our reach. What I've learned out of this process and being at Dayton DPS for 2 years is I sit on the Athletic Control Board, also sit on the Finance Committee, and I'm the liaison for the new construction. And I know so much about construction in that process, as well as the inner workings of the district. And what all this has brought me to was the fact that I realized the district, even though our main goal is education, it is a business also. And I realized that a business has to run at its optimum in order for its product to be what you really desire for it to be. And one of the things that I'm the most proud of that the district that the board has done in the last 2 years, we wrote a strategic plan. We decided to put down on paper where we wanted to go, how we wanted to get there, and how it was going to benefit the children. And as being a community person, I began to realize that the city will only be as strong as its children are, and that means in the education that they get, going away to school, coming back home, and deciding that they want to live in this beautiful environment, a vibrant city that we have and that we're going to keep on trying to prepare for them. So that is the basis of why I want to stay on it at the board and continue my work to do the remainder of the new buildings, to make sure that the implementation of the strategic plan. The strategic plan has 5 key goals, and the first goal of the strategic plan in our direction is a high-quality education. The second key goal is a safe environment. The third key goal is excellent customer service. And our fourth initiative is fiscal responsibility, meaning balancing the budget. And our most important, the one that I'm proud of, the most proud of, that we added was our community involvement and community support. Without the community, without the parents, without the grandparents, and without the community just as a whole, the district cannot provide everything to the children from the parents and the grandparents and the guidance that it gives to our children. And that's why I want to stay at DPS, and that's why I want to make sure that that happens for our children, so they will be our champions of today and our champions of tomorrow, and they'll come back home and keep this city the vibrant city that it is. Thank you.
Hi again. I'm still not in my 90s, and I'm still sick, but I'm Stacy Thompson, and I want to thank you for allowing me to be here with you today. I'm a graduate of Dayton Public Schools. I graduated from Meadowdale High School in 1983. I'm a regional vice president for Key Bank downtown. I cover Dayton, Cincinnati, and Columbus. I have spent the past 3 years, I was actually appointed to the board in 2006 and then subsequently elected in 2007. And I've spent most of the first year on the board just trying to get a lay of the land. Someone asked me, describe what it's like to be a school board member, and I said it's like drinking out of a fire hose. That's how much information was coming at me, and just trying to get your arms around it. $200 million district, 2,000+ employees, numerous children, so many different programs. But that's what I did. I dug in, I started reading, I started paying attention, I started asking questions. It was probably after about the first year that I started to then look at what's my niche, what can I bring to the table. There are many things I could talk about. I've managed million-dollar budgets, I've managed hundreds of people. I've studied at Spelman College and have the educational background. But what's really important to me, and to me the greatest attribute that I bring to this role, is I am our students. I grew up right on Hoover and Lorenz in West Dayton. I attended every school in DPS from Westwood to Overwright, back over to Shiloh, over to Fairview. I was kind of crisscrossing. Went to Fairview High School and then subsequently graduated from Meadowdale High School. I know what it's like to watch parents get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and drive to a job that they probably didn't like so well. I kind of got that feeling, but they did it for one reason, and that was so that I could have a better life. That's what they did. They instilled in me that you will go to college. This is important. It wasn't a matter of where, it wasn't a matter of if, it was simply a matter of where. I grew up with that thought. When I look at our children today and I look at the job market that's out here, I know what's required. I know that they have to be better than good. I know that they have to have the skills and the preparation and academic background in order to compete. And I stand as an advocate for those children because I know that having come from Hoover and Lorenz to Spelman College to New York to Chicago to Calgary, Canada, and thank God back home to Dayton, Ohio, which is where I probably should have started. But anyway, back home to Dayton, Ohio. Those experiences, that exposure would not have been possible without the foundation that I got right here in Dayton Public Schools and in this community. There were many people who stood in the gap for me. I tell people all the time, I want to make sure that children have what I had. A community that cares, parents that care, people in the community who realized that it took a village to raise a child. They gave me the exposure. They allowed me to interact and to learn things that I may not have had opportunity to do. That's what I try to do for our children. I bring them into the bank for tours. I send bankers out to them to learn new skills. I take them to the Dragon Suite so that they can be exposed to that. Take a group of 4th graders, we're going to the Racket Club for lunch. So you can see these things. That's what our children need, exposure. If I'm able to do that and to advocate for them, then my role here will be well served. And the ultimate goal is that another Dayton Public School student and graduate will be able to sit in this seat one day. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jim Weir. I'm running for Dayton Public School Board. I'm a parent of a Dayton Public School student who's special needs. I'm a special needs coach. I've been an instructor in lighting and sound direction. Got a degree in philosophy and computer science, and I do collaborative knowledge management solutions for the Air Force to do short-term and long-term, and I don't cough. Sorry. I'm lobbyist for education as well as a genetic disease that my daughter has for the state of Ohio. I support 480 families within that community for outreach, fundraising, special awareness. I am a trainer, peer advocate, educational lobbyist, an NLI graduate, Walnut Hills Association housing coordinator. These are some of the background information. What I want to do is bring neighborhood schools, communities together, getting schools anchored back into the neighborhoods, and fostering parent, guardian leadership and involvement in the students' lives, and bringing the community back. Everything I've done in all the advocacy work I've done, the lobbying on a state and federal level, is a grassroots, starting at the bottom and working your way up. Starting with the neighborhoods, starting with the peers and teachers and mentors in the neighborhoods, uniting the kids and uniting the neighborhoods with the schools is the best way to bring everything together. Once we start doing that and we start fostering that spirit of being a part of something and being a part of a community and an organization, graduating, wanting to come back here to Dayton and bring ideas and become some of those entrepreneurs and business people and to the city of Dayton to grow us would be fantastic. And that's what I want to do. Thank you.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Charlie Shoemaker. I'm the Executive Director of Five Rivers Metro Parks, and I'm here to talk to you tonight about issue 4 that's going to be on the November 3rd ballot for Metro Parks. But before I get into the specifics of what we're asking the voters for, it's always important that my audience know who Metro Parks is so that they're an informed voter and an informed citizen. So I've brought some material that's around here somewhere in a stack, a couple pieces that I would really encourage you to get familiar with so that you truly know the extent of this Metro Parks system that we all enjoy. And the first piece is our visitor's guide. And it covers all 25 facilities that Metro Parks has throughout Montgomery County. You can be at a Metro Park facility within 15 minutes of wherever you live in Montgomery County. And I think what you'll find when you go through this, and what will strike you, is the diversity of this network. And I'm here to tell you, I've been with this organization 32 years. So I've seen a lot of evolution of Metro Parks over that time, from a time when it was an organization that was large blocks of open space, whether it was Englewood Metro Park or Taylorsville or Carriage Hill or Huffman or Germantown or Cox Arboretum Metro Park or Sugar Creek Metro Park, to in 1995, through a partnership agreement with the city of Dayton, Metro Parks took on an urban presence. So now we have Metro Parks at Eastwood Metro Park and the events with Mountain Days and the coming together type events that happen there. We have Riverscape Metro Park, the National City 2nd Street Market, that hopefully that some of you maybe visited, is a Metro Park facility. The Recreation Trail Network in this community, 65 miles of bike trail that are just a part of one of the most extensive trail networks in the country, is right here in our own community. Wakers and Gardens Metro Park, Island Metro Park, and everything that goes along with it. So I think it is that diversity of the system, that geographic and demographic reach of this organization that is really the beauty of the organization. And I will tell you, and you can expect me to be biased about it because I work for the organization, but it is truly one of the most progressive park systems in the state of Ohio and in this country. So please look at this, share it with family, friends, anybody you can get it in front of, so that they know who Metro Parks is. And you can also hit our website at metroparks.org and get the same information as well as our program information. The other piece is about what our strategic priorities are for the organization, and they're covered in 4 terms: protect, connect, enrich, and respect. And real quickly, the protect piece is honoring why we were created in the first place in 1963, and that is preservation of open spaces. We sit here tonight, we manage 15,000 acres in Montgomery County. 3,700 of that have come on since the last time we were on the ballot in November of 2000. The connect piece is about staying relevant to our users, understanding how our users want to use our facilities. That's where you're seeing us promote the river system, to get people out to do things like kayak and fly fish, or to go mountain biking at Huffman, or backpacking at Germantown and Twin Creek. Those aren't necessarily things you think of when you think of Dayton, Ohio, but you can do them all right here. The third prong, the third priority, is enrich. We're a partner in this community. We want to help promote it. The types of programs and facilities we have are essential to position this region for the next opportunity, for that next business, to retain the workforce, to attract a workforce, and to retain the products of UD, Wright State, Central State, and I'm being given the hand that I'm done. And the fourth is about just respecting the fact that we are tax supported. What we're asking for is to replace our existing 1.8 mil property tax levy. It expires next year. It represents 80% of our annual operating revenue, and it's the only levy we have. So I think when you put those 3 things together, it's pretty clear why we're so passionate about getting out and making sure that you understand we're on the ballot November 3rd. Thank you.
Well, I'm not a politician either. I have a sore ear. Went to the doctor today, and I have a hole in my eardrum. And an infection. So, well, I'm here to talk about the Dayton Metro Library, and that we have an issue on the ballot, issue 40. So, I hope you don't get exhausted before you ever got down to the issue 40. The reason we have an issue is, I know that almost everybody here probably realizes that the state has cut the library's budgets all across the state, not just ours, but all across the state. But our library has certainly suffered serious cuts in our budget. We already have a levy on that we use, and that levy expires in November. So we're asking for a new levy to replace that one, and we're asking for a 0.5 mil increase. So that would make it almost $1.55 more per month for a $100,000 house. So I think it is, I hope it's doable. The library has grown dramatically in the last 5 years. We've increased 25% circulation. And last year, in 2008, we broke all records. We circulated 7.6 million items. And the Dayton Library, really statistically, we circulate for every checkout twice the national average for our library system. We have over 150,000 people come to our programs. We have about 8,000 programs in the system, and this is for all ages. We have programs for babies, programs for children, programs for teens, programs for adults, programs for seniors. We reach out to the community in all different ways, and we not only reach out to them to help with job searches and the things that make their lives, that are necessary in their lives, but also to enhance their lives. And we also provide a place where people can go to apply for jobs and do job searches to make their resume. And we have people there to help them.
much more relevant whenever there are hard times. What the money will be used for? New books and reference materials, popular CDs and DVDs, magazines, vital programs for children and teens, internet access for research and small business growth, outreach to daycares and senior centers, and if the issue fails, I think that everybody realizes too that we do not expect the taxpayer to take up all the slack of our budget cuts. The library has our staffs from the management down. We have taken wage freezes. We have hiring freeze. We have furlough days. Today was furlough day for the East Branch. We don't get paid on furlough days. So please vote for the library because it gave me that.
Again, we want to thank the candidates for coming out tonight. I'm sure this has been a long month, and we happen to fall at the end of this, so thank you to everyone for coming out tonight. And I'm here to field some questions, so if you have a question, I would like to get some Linden Heights people too. Questions for the candidates? Okay.
Joe, you've heard this before. Dayton for at least 15 years, and it's discipline, and this is for all school board candidates. For 15 years, our rate of discipline, based on the Ohio Department of Education statistics, is between 10 to 20% of what other large districts, their discipline rate. So that, for instance, for every one student that we suspend, they suspend 5 to 10. For every student we expel, they suspend 5 to 10. For everyone we do in-house, they do 5 to 10. One, why is the discipline rate then so historically low? And this is over a continuing period. And second of all, what can we do to actually increase discipline, which will increase an educational opportunity in our schools?
Well, first off, I don't know. I mean, actually, it was about 4 years ago. We had the highest expulsion rate in the state. Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, first off, I'll admit that there are probably reporting problems with this statewide, and that's been reported in the Dayton Daily News, that what's actually a suspension versus expulsion, and some suspensions have been overreported on children. So, if this is this from the ODE website, possibly, that's where the problems are. And we are focusing on trying to fix up our reporting on those issues. It's an administrative problem. We are dealing with a situation where we're trying to focus our dollars on the classroom, and I'll admit that our administration does suffer from that, and it's tough to try to get finance reports and stuff like that. We don't really have a lot of the administrative bulk that a normal organization of our size would have, like a corporation. So I would really think that that's a reporting problem more than anything else.
I agree with my colleague, Mr. Lacy. I wanted to tackle your question a little bit from another angle, and that is the perception of, are our schools safe? Because that's what we hear a lot. And is your child safe in our school? And we have taken a number of steps to increase the security of our schools, to ensure that incidents do not occur in our schools. A lot of what you hear, if it's something negative that's going on, that's what you're going to hear. Now, all the positive, you're not going to get that. I fought with the newspaper about that. You're not going to get that. You're going to hear the negative. Do we have challenges? Absolutely, we do. Absolutely, we do. Our goal is never, and has never been, to put kids out of school if there's a way to circumvent that. Our children don't need to be out of school. What we need is behavior modification. We need conflict resolution. We need to teach children how to handle the anger that they're dealing with. And many of our children are carrying a lot of anger. what most of us had, parents who cared, parents who advocated, who were there. We have children raising themselves. Let's be honest, all of the social, economic challenges that we are facing in this city stop right here with our children. And they come to school with those challenges every single day. So our goal really has never been to put them out of school and let them go out there and fend for themselves. Is what can we do to modify behavior while keeping them in some context of a school system? We just recently got a report at this last board meeting about a program that we did have, and we had it at Longfellow, which is an alternative school. So any student within Dayton Public Schools, K through 12, K through 8, I'm sorry, who was suspended, could go to this alternative program. So therefore, they were still doing homework, they were still taking classes. The funding for that, did I get the number right, was it cut from like 20 million to a couple $100,000? So now we have it in 2 schools, and that's it. So a lot of this is a funding base, but certainly we look for ways. We implemented a zero tolerance policy as well as a behavior expectations in school, and we hold kids accountable to that. I never want to see an entire classroom suffer because of the behavior of a few. That should not happen, and that won't happen on my watch. So we're certainly taking measured steps to ensure that we turn that around. But I do agree with Mr. Lacy. I'd like to see that data because we were at one point with the highest. So I'd be real happy to talk to you afterwards. Thanks.
And also, I'd like to reaffirm that, because that has been my position, and I know all of my other board members also. We don't want to discipline children. We want children coming to the building with the understanding that they have a responsibility also. And what we have done in that, especially in some of the areas where, quote unquote, our buildings were identified as problems, we've changed the personnel in those buildings. You can see it from day one. When I walked in the building and I heard a young man stand at the door and tell children, you will have a belt on, you will have your shirt inside your pants, and your pants will be pulled up around your waist. You will not be in this building today. That's what our principals, vice principals, and our administrative staff, our buildings are doing. We rewrote our code of conduct just because of that, in addressing that, as well as making those moves. But our objective is not to discipline, but to modify behavior, to get children to understand the responsibility they have, not only for themselves inside the building, but outside the building, and when they're getting their education. And that's in the respect that they give to those who are there to teach them, and for those who are there to administrate those buildings. And we're doing that, and it's working, folks. I'm not gonna name the 2 buildings, but I can go in either one of them today, and I can just feel the air. It has totally changed just because of the presence of a different administrator who has a different attack of reaching those children. And them young men were just, they had the belt on like me, and I was just happy. I was happy as I could be.
Charlie.
This is for Mayor Ryan McLin and Mr. Esrati. Your campaign has taken a negative tone. I don't know whether you're aware of this, Mr. McLin, but I received a mail, I wish I had brought it with me and saved it, against Mr.
Leitzell.
Gary. Leitzell, thank you. Apparently whoever wrote this, took his comments out of context. So, in fact, one of the comments I think was from a private conversation. And I really would like to say, both to you and to Mr. Esrati, avoid the negativity, okay? Because it's
Who do you want to hear from first?
Yeah, I know.
Who do you want to hear from first?
It doesn't matter, but let me finish. Mr. Esrati, you have several good ideas, which I've read in the newspaper, but avoid the negativity, and each one of you can go first.
I really didn't hear a question.
There's a question about
Avoid the
negativity.
negativity in your campaign.
Like 3 minutes. That's okay.
Oh, I
Why
can
don't
go.
have you go first?
I can go ahead.
Okay.
In a campaign, I would like to say that on that particular piece, truth. And the things that were said there were repeated onto the piece of literature. So I will say that it's only negative when it's not true. And I have yet to hear Mr. Leitzell say that he didn't say it, and that even though he says he is an independent, he was endorsed by the Republican Party. And so, I mean, don't be ashamed of it. And so that's true.
Okay, David.
I really thank you for that question, because for a long time I've been painted as being negative, as being, asking questions. But asking questions, it's only negative if you perceive that the answers are being used in some sort of way that is, to tear somebody down. I am letting you know what I'm finding out. And what I found out over the last 23 years is that the way we do business in the city of Dayton and the way that I do business as a small businessman are not the same. When someone comes to talk to me at my office, they feel welcome. We don't shut them off at 3 minutes. We don't, and I give them a response too. When they ask me a question, I give them a response. It's not that way when you go down to the city commission. They often tell you to go through some other route. They tell you to go over, talk to the priority boards, go do this, go do that. It shouldn't be that hard to get an answer out of the people that work for you. There are systems that I'd like to put in place, like the 311 system. So there's one number you call for all your problems with the city, and then we have a reporting system. It's a great piece of technology. It's been implemented in other cities. I try to talk about regionalism, and I talk about it in the paper, and all of a sudden my ideas are strangely bad when I talk about putting the regional assets in play as a regional thing that we share, like the airport. The paper came out and smeared me, and just drug me through the mud. I had to go through 2.5 years fighting City Hall on a court case, which cost a lot of money. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know already. What I am telling you is I provide the information. You go analyze it yourself. But when you're getting donations from far away, I don't understand how that works, especially in a city full of people who are struggling to get by. I'm not out here to smear any of these people. I'm just questioning their integrity. Because when I see $5,000 checks for a political campaign, if I saw one come to me, I'd hand it back to the person and say, find a real charity. Go help some people. That's a lot of money. And I hope you understand that if you go to my website, there's a question and answer thing. You can say I'm wrong. You can have a discussion with me. And I have had that for 4 years. Nothing like that on the others. I've got a plan. Nothing like that. I don't get up and say, I was born here. I have no control of it. The people who have control over that are right sitting there behind you. And I was born in Salina, but I didn't have anything to do with that. Coming up here and talking about things like that are immaterial. Let's talk about real issues. Let's have real debates. Thank you.
Can I get another question, please? Mark?
I'd like to ask the two mayoral candidates what they feel the top priorities are for the next city manager and what they think the city manager's first directive should be.
You may go first.
Okay, we'll let Brian go first.
I think the first response for the city manager is going to be the fiscal stability of the city, that we have to continue that, living within our means and making sure that that happens. We want to do that without laying anyone off, and so therefore that it's going to be the city manager's challenge to work with our unions and to work with people in the city to make sure that we don't do that without raising taxes. We haven't raised income taxes in the city. The second thing that the city manager's priorities will be is not only to continue to work on the infrastructure that we've started, but to also to help us work with our economic development for businesses. And then the third thing would be to make sure that our neighborhoods, I believe in strong urban neighborhoods, to make sure that we're working and doing all that we can for our neighborhoods. Such as the work that we've done with the Genesis program, with our partners with Mountain Valley Hospital and the University of Dayton. Those are
got to be allowed to do it, not the commission. The city manager is paid $145,000, $150,000 to run the city. The mayor and the commission are supposed to be a board of directors to ensure that he does that. You have to focus on what the citizens want. The 7 priority boards unanimously wanted us to enforce the housing and safety codes. That was the #1 priority of 7 priority boards representing 65 neighborhoods in a 55 square mile radius or area of the city. Last week, not a single one of these 3 incumbents knew that. And that is sad. They are disconnected from the people. We need to make sure that the city manager knows to focus on basic services, which is fire, police, public works. And if anything else needs to be worked on, we need to come up with ways to generate revenue. My belief is that we have 4 problems in the city. A budget problem, a housing problem, a perception of crime problem, and an unemployment problem. We need to focus on jobs, because jobs will take care of housing, the city budget, and the perception of crime. If we focus on the one problem, we can solve 4. And I think that's the focus we need to go on with the city manager. Focus on doing things to create economic development, encourage people to come here, and that will help alleviate the other problems. There are creative ways to do things in this city. Our city manager needs to be inspired with creativity, as do every single director of the city departments. They all need to be inspired to be creative, innovative thinkers, and they need to be allowed to do their jobs properly.
Do you have any other questions?
It's for the school board. The question is, knowing that some of the funding for students comes from the amount, from basically attendance and bodies, what are you working on or what are you currently doing to curb absenteeism and truancy?
She's not too sick to talk.
Well, give them this next and tell them not to get sick. Well, first and foremost is that we absolutely measure attendance. We keep, when we get we get monthly reports on what the attendance is like in each school. So we look for trends. It's very easy to identify where we're having challenges. And our building principals are encouraged to look at that data and that information as well, and to work with parents, work with students to ensure that children are in school. I'm happy to state that our attendance rates now hover over the 90% range. They didn't before. So we've certainly taken steps to improve that. Another thing that we've done is we've worked with the courts, we've worked with the police to ensure that we don't have truancy problems. We've encouraged citizens. If you see students, I know that was kind of challenging when we were all on different schedules. We've shored that up by putting everyone on the same schedule. But if you see students who are out of school and it's 1 o'clock and after, call us, because they probably should be in school. And we send people out. So we have people who, that's their job, is to go out and to work with parents, work with students to get them in school. Bottom line is kids cannot learn, they cannot grow, and they cannot develop if they're not in the classroom. So we certainly are always looking at that and taking measured steps to ensure that we increase attendance and that we keep that.
Some of the things we did, and Stacy just a little bit touched on it, we did change our schedule. And we began to realize that was one of our biggest problems, in that our students wanted to be off when their friends going to other schools were off. And so consequently, they weren't coming back to school when they needed to be. So we realized, or I guess the children made us realize, we needed to all be on the same page and on the same day. And then it was more easier for us to be able to assist them with other things that they needed, but knowing that they would be available because their friends had to go to school, back to school, or return, and their parents. So it was a collaborative, and we looked at a lot of information. So yeah, and it has made a difference. It's made a great difference.
And we are moving more towards a neighborhood system. We're talking with the administration now about possibly even setting up some boundaries. And more of a neighborhood situation might help, should help attendance. Attendance is a tough one.
Yes, I have a question, and it's to the incumbent commissioners. How many times does a person have to call the commissioner's office to get a response? How many times? This, Ms. Whaley, I have tried, I don't know how many times to reach you and never got a response. Mr. Williams, I finally did get up with you at the bank. And, but, you know, it should be that as a citizen, you should be able to call and you should be able to get an appointment with the commissioner. I don't know how many times I've called. And all I get are some of the aides in there, and they'll rattle off something like, well, we have part-time commissioners. But you know, we have full-time problems in Dayton.
I'll be happy to start. Sure. Thank you. In fact, and thank you for the question, because we were sitting here wondering, like, you know, well, we here too. So we're glad to ask a question and participate. Great question. You know, you just mentioned, you know, the commission job really is part-time, but you're right. It's a full-time issue, and we try to give it a full-time effort. And the fact of the matter is, I feel very confident that all of us, not just us here, but the rest of the commission, when we find out someone tries to reach us, we really try hard to get back. And we did talk on the phone, and you told me you had tried to reach me, and I hadn't received the message the first time. And I called Jack a couple of times. I don't think you had a voicemail or something, but we did try to. We had telephone tag, you and I. We did talk. I thought we had a good conversation, and I'm open door. Anybody, whenever someone wants to meet with me, I'll make time. So I do stand pretty proud that the entire commission tries hard to meet with anybody anytime they want. But you're right, being human, sometimes messages don't get through. But when they do, we do try to respond quickly. So thank you for the question. Glad to be here.
Hi, Mr. Pace. I tried to call you back as well. Like Commissioner Williams says, it's hard sometimes when people don't have voicemail, and I understand that. I also have my phone number in the phone book, my home phone number that has an answering machine. If people are feeling like they don't want to call City Hall, they can call my home phone number that's in the phone book, which citizens do. I also have an email address on both the city website and my personal website that people do reach me at. So sometimes, like Commissioner Williams said, that human error does happen, but we try to be as accessible as possible, and I do my best at that. It's nice to see you all.
I would like to know if Ms. Whaley has a rebuttal or corrections of the statements that Mr. Esrati made about your campaign contributions.
I appreciate your question again. I know you asked that at a previous candidates night. I'm happy to talk about that. Actually, the campaign, what'd you call it, K Street Consulting Group is actually United Food and Commercial Workers. I was actually at a rally earlier with them today at 5 o'clock, trying to drum up excitement on the health care for all Americans. I am proud to stand with UFCW as well as with most union members, and they support me, and I'm proud of their support. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? Well, let me see. Does anybody from Linden Heights have a question that we can answer? Bob?
It's for the mayors. You said that we haven't raised the taxes in Dayton in a long time. And we're out of money in this town. Where do we get the money to hire outside companies to go through all the back taxes? I got a bill for $7 for 4 years ago. I paid the $7 to City of Dayton. Then I get another letter from the City of Dayton saying I owe them $50. 2 weeks later, I got an apology letter. City of Dayton committed me $75. But we have no money, but we're hiring outside companies to go through our tax records to collect money. Why is that? Don't we have accountants in this town? That's their job, not an outside job?
That was done by the
start with Dayton first, and then go out to Montgomery County if there's no one in Dayton, and then we look at the surrounding counties before we would go to Columbus or Cincinnati. I agree with you, and it's something that I've often said. Why do we outsource? We have something like 45 or 50 planners downtown, and we outsource consulting. Why are we paying them if we're outsourcing consulting? I mean, the same thing with the legal department. We've got a legal department downtown. You take a legal issue to them, they say, oh, we can't do that. We're not qualified. You have to outsource it. I don't understand why. So if I'm elected mayor, I'll make sure that we certainly look into it and make sure that it's an issue that's addressed. And we should keep our business as local as possible, especially right now at a time where we're being told that we're in the middle of a great recession. So we got to keep the business local and keep the jobs in Dayton.
Andrew?
Commission candidates. I'm not from here. I've been living here about 5 years, and I'm going to die this town. This town, I enjoy every minute of it. I'm glad I moved here, but I have noticed in those last 4 or 5 years how many big names, big contributors, big corporations, they're gone. They're just gone. And I really am excited about tech. I'm really excited about the small business venture because we have to face reality. But what are we going to do in the meantime to generate the revenue that we've lost until we can cultivate all these small businesses? What are we, I mean, it seems like we've been treading water for 5 years, and I just have it's like right up to your nose. You know, we can still breathe, but we're almost at that precipice. What are we going to do in that meantime to generate the revenue?
Oh, I get to go first? Companies invest when they feel confident about the environment they're investing in. If you have a community that is strong, you feel that your money is well spread. It's why the South Park neighborhood has managed to not suffer the way other neighborhoods have suffered. So I've got a plan. It's on my website at esrati.com/plan. And I talk about how we're going to rebuild the city and make it a place that make it a place that people feel comfortable and want to invest. And we're going to start out by working in our neighborhoods. Now, there are some other things that we need to do. We need to do things that don't cost a lot of money, but say, hey, this city's got things going on. Charlie Shoemaker's here, and I got to tell you, that's one of our strengths. Five Rivers Metro Parks does a phenomenal job. We've got to tell that story. We've got to add to it. We've got to build upon it. St. Clair Community College, amazing job, inexpensive. We've got to take that, we've got to build on it. I've got a plan I'm working on called B-Site. And it's part of the downtown plan that Dr. Urban's working on. And for less than what the hospitals have spent putting their name on a high school stadium, we can have free bicycles all over town. You swipe the card, you ride it, you drop it off, boom. Different places, drop them off. You don't have to own a bike, it's just there. Denver's putting in 1,000 bikes next year. I want to go in the same time as Denver, and I think I can do it all with private money. No public money. I could do it for less than these two are in their campaign contributions, not quite. But the idea is, let's do some things that look like we're moving forward. We've got a lot of zoning issues that make it difficult. I own a small business. It took 9 months to get an occupancy permit. I didn't.
David, we need to move on.
Okay.
Okay, Jody?
A little bit. Check my website.
Thank you. So,
That was 2 minutes, 23 seconds.
What's your 40 seconds?
With a cell phone interruption for dancing. Go ahead, Joe.
Great question, tough question. The reality is that we are in some incredibly tough times, really throughout the country and definitely in the Midwest, particularly when you look at Ohio and Michigan and Indiana, but especially Ohio and Michigan because of our heavy reliance in a number of our cities on the manufacturing jobs. And so when you look at places like Dayton, Cleveland, certainly Detroit, Flint, there's going to be some tough times. And so I think that I'm proud of the fact that we are embracing those tough times. And you're right, these last couple of years have been difficult. We've had to make some tough decisions. We had some friends that we had to give some tough messages to in order to balance the budget. As I look forward, there's a couple of things that I really think that we should work on. First of all, I really think we should take the time, and we're working on this now, to really zero in on what are the best practices, what are the essential metrics that the best cities have, particularly in the Midwest, around what we are spending our budget on. Really look at that and find out where we're in line, where we're out of line. Is there a reason why we're out of line? Because we're not like everybody else, it could be a reason why. And then the last thing, jobs really are essential. We've got to figure out a way to change the way we do things in the Midwest, but particularly in Dayton, so that we can create and help jobs grow for us. The manufacturing jobs, I still think there's manufacturing opportunities, but they may not all be related to the auto industry. There may be other manufacturing opportunities. We can find those. But at the same time, we do have to help, as a region, look at where are the best opportunities to grow jobs, both small, and I haven't given up on large jobs. I do think that it's important for us to really grow the small businesses, but I think that if we do the right things, we can attract some medium and larger sized companies, but we're going to take a regional approach to how we attract those, and we can't be tripping over each other, fighting one city against another city, and a whole bunch of different economic development groups fighting against each other. So we need to talk as one voice with unity, and Dayton can be great, and we can't get out of this constant year over year trying to fix the budget in an emergency.
I'm always excited to hear, like me, that people come to Dayton and fall in love with the city. I was one of those people as well. I think Commissioner Williams answered a lot of what I would say. The other things I would point out is I think that this community does have the amenities some of the best amenities in the state, and if not the Midwest. Like Five Rivers, like the Miami Conservancy District, our libraries. We do a really good job at providing a fantastic quality of life in this community, and we should be proud of that, and I think we are. The city itself recognizes that we are, like you said, I think at the water level is about here, and so what we've tried to do, and I'm going to steal this from Commissioner Williams, he normally talks about this at Candidates Night, is we've really worked on providing the infrastructure for our city, replacing our bridges during this time. They happen every 100 years, trying to make them look extremely unique and make our city shine. The restructuring of Main Street. Those things are key because we want to have a very nice looking city, so when the recession does end for us, we have something really quality to show people for potential jobs. The third thing that makes us different than any other city in the state, and I say any other city in the nation, is our connection to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And that's an asset we absolutely must leverage. We are trying that very hard with Techtown. Commissioner Joseph talks a lot about the Springfield Street redevelopment, which is critical if you're talking about bringing jobs from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and the base into downtown Dayton. So those are the things I think we have to look at what makes us completely different than other places in the state and in the region. And I would say Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and our awesome aquifer, which is the best water in the world. So those are the two things that we have. We are working really hard to try to leverage those to the next level while we're putting down the foundation for our future growth. So thank you very much for that excellent question.
Okay, I'm going to actually end the questioning period now so that you can enjoy the refreshments my parents worked so hard on. And buy a raffle ticket to support Linden Heights. We have about 5 minutes for you to get a ticket if you want a ticket, and then Andrew will call some numbers. So thank you all for coming. Thank you again to our candidates night. And remember to vote on November the 3rd.
Before you get out here, I'm going to